Yo, welcome back to another Now That's Debatable. I am your host, Sidney Smith. Sitting by my side is my brother, my co-host for a long time, Mr. Deon Curry. Your monies don't get cracking till we show up. So we hope that you guys are ready. We got a fun show. It's going to be kind of a free-flowing one. Deon's got a little bit of structure for us, but it's not going to be as structured. We haven't done one like this in a long time, so I'm looking forward. Deon could say anything. So stay tuned. What's up, brother? How you doing?
Well, why you put that kind of pressure on me? Now I feel like I gotta say anything.
You gonna say anything Monday anyway?
Well, that's true, but that is highly accurate. But happy Monday to you and all the Master Debaters. Thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Now That's Debatable. It was a good weekend, all things considered. My phone's been acting weird though. It's been freezing and locking up. Has that ever happened to you? I know you're new to iPhone. I don't know if that ever happens on Android, but like some of my apps will just freeze.
I haven't had. You know who's been having issues with her phone? The wife has been having issues with her phone.
I don't know what's going on. I think I need to like delete some of the data cache or whatever. Maybe that'll help, but it's been acting weird. So
let me showing up with none of your young people talk saying shit like cash and data. How dare you? We one of the AI fans.
My bad. What I meant to say was I got to shake the Etch-a-Sketch to get all the.
There you go. That I understand. Never. What a stupid toy! I think back on. And how it ever passed the test to be safe for kids when it would leak that little shit out the side eventually? how there's not more kids that overdosed on that whatever that shit was inside the Etch-a-Sketch?
Lead paint, I'm sure. It's a cancer toy.
Yeah, sitting there fucking eating that shit coming out and just eating paint off the walls as it peels.
We should do an episode about 80s and 90s childhood toys.
We should do one.
Top 5 best, top 5 worst.
Look, when we do it, I'm going to sit and think about it. But right now, what first thing that came to my mind as one of the worst toys, I don't care what. I shouldn't say that. Most of them kids a long time ago just played with sticks.
Stick in a wheel.
Slinky, horrible toy.
Like made out of coat hangers. Like what?
So like almost like you always as a kid you felt like my parents bought this house with these shitty steps. The Slinky doesn't even want to fucking go down it.
You had a nice house. Everybody in my house was on the same floor with no steps. You had to drop that Slinky from a chair to a stool.
You know what? That's a good fucking premise right there for a fucking joke. You knew what type of family, what kind of money you had if you had a Slinky back in the day.
At least you had an upstairs or a downstairs. The Slinky was very flat in our house. We just stretched that bitch like the accordion.
And know if you lived in a 2-house flat, was you gonna get away with that? Because somebody upstairs or downstairs is gonna tell you, get your ass out that hallway, fucking around playing. Get your ass outside. Everybody I knew who lived in a 2-family flat, they were all related. So they could come out and cuss you out at any time, cuss out the kids if you was fucking around the hallway. It wasn't like they didn't know you.
Oh, dude, I'll never forget. I'm glad you brought that up. My grandmother used to live in a duplex, right? And, the doors are right next to each other. If you're not paying attention, you could easily go into the neighbor's house and not realize it until you're sitting on the couch like, why does it smell like that in here? So we went over to my grandmother's house. And lo and behold, we running in and out. And we don't realize that we're in our neighbor's house. And that poor old lady sitting in her living room watching TV. We barge in. She looking at us. We looking at her like, how the hell you get in here? She's like, you in my house.
You questioning her. I know she was.
Like, how did you get in here? Like, you in the wrong house. Lock your door, lady.
We have some comments. All I see is Facebook user, Deon, I don't know if you can see, who the folks are. I don't know if you want to read the comments. I can't. I don't want to try to read them.
It's Mary Ballard. She says, "Hi guys. Oh Lord, let me protect my virgin ears."
Yeah.
Etch a sketch with the laughing face emoji. She says, "Don't be throwing that money around. I never had one." So in your face, Sydney. Mary said, "What phone do you have, Deon?" "I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max." And what's wrong with sticks?
Hey, man.
Nothing's wrong with sticks if you're poor.
And I'm not here to judge people's financial situations in their childhood. But
That's not very conservative of you.
How dare you? How dare you? We don't, as conservatives, we don't judge you to your face. We wait till we are at a tea party and wait until your parents are serving us our tea before we make our comments.
Hide the money, y'all. There's poor people around.
Oh, look at, here comes that broke little girl's mother right now bringing over his finger sandwiches. Give her an extra tip. That's when we make fun of them. Thank you guys for jumping in with us. We do appreciate it. Deon, you want to talk about the show at all that you had over the weekend, bro?
No, I really don't. It wasn't worth mentioning. It wasn't very good. 9 people showed up. So yeah, you have shows like that. The weather wasn't cooperating. So it is what it is.
I did want to talk about comedy just real quick. And I know you said you only seen clips, but I did want to give a kudos to KevinHart's new special. If you have not had a chance to see it, I get it because it's on Peacock. And when I was watching it, I was like, man, I wonder how many people are actually going to get to see this. Because it's not like Peacock is like Netflix. Like everybody has Netflix. Even if you got to pirate it from somebody, you have Netflix. So I was just wondering what that was going to be like for this special to be on Peacock. But I watched him work out the material last year here. He came to the Tempe Improv. And I thought, and I told people then, if you were a Kevin Hart fan, you're going to really like this new material he's doing because it's more like the old stuff as opposed to what has been the last couple of specials. And he made me laugh a couple of times that night that I saw him, and I found myself chuckling the other night while I was laying in bed checking it out.
Yeah, I've seen a few clips on Facebook of just 8 to 9 minute clips, and for what I saw, it definitely looked like old Kevin Hart before he kind of turned into the super movie star Kevin Hart. It was very resonant of grown little man, and what's the one where all right.
Is that seriously funny?
One.
Is that seriously funny?
Yeah.
The second one.
It was reminiscent of those specials. But like I said, I only saw 2 clips, but I laughed out loud at both of them. So, I don't have Peacock, but if it finds its way to be pirated on Twitter or something, I will definitely check it out.
I listened to Kevin recently on a podcast being interviewed, and he talked about, I forget whose podcast it was, but they asked him, hey man, when did you know that this was getting ready to turn? And the reason I'm bringing it up, folks, for people out there, because as comics, professional comics, you're always grinding, You think this could be it. You think that's going to be it. This is going to be my break. A lot of times, the thing you don't think is going to be your break ends up being your break. Like Matt Rife right now, who's killing it. I worked with him 18 months ago. I've been telling this story for a couple of weeks now. Worked with him 18 months ago. People came out, but they weren't coming out the way they are coming out now. And then at the end of the night, he was standing there with bracelets and he was giving them away for whatever money you had in your pocket. Fast forward 18 months to when he was here a month or so ago, the man came in, sold out 8 shows of a 600-seat comedy club for $65 a pop. Those tickets are going for. And now he's getting ready to go on a world tour. A lot of people say it's because he's good looking. A lot of people say because he has abs. A lot of people say because of the material. A lot of people say the kid has always looked the way he's looked. The material has always been what the material was. There is no rhyme or reason to it. I mean, we try to fit it in and say it's because he's doing the 1-minute clips, and that could have something to do with it because he's hard and heavy with that on social media. So if you had to put your finger on something, maybe that's what it is. But there's no way to know because he's doing the same thing he was doing 18 months ago. He's doing it today. And for whatever reason, he popped.
Well, I mean, when you go viral, you go viral. And that always leads to people wanting to get more access to you. And he capitalized on that viral moment. He had plenty of clips to go in the chamber to put out. And, it's very consistent with what you're getting with him, which is his brand of I'm gonna do crowd work, but I'm gonna make it unique to me, and that's his stick. Whether it's he's attractive or not, I don't. To me personally, I don't think that really drives his sales. I think it's the content that people are gonna get and the added bonuses that women find him attractive.
I think it depends on the client. I don't want to get down. This is not where I was trying to go, but I do think it depends on the customer. There are going to be some women who come out based off what he looks like, especially if they're just finding him today. Those people who were following him for a while and been going to shows before this big takeoff, those are probably the fans that are coming for the material or for the experience. But I think there is a large bulk of those females that are coming out because they just found him on and like, yo, we got to go see this kid. Look how good he. I mean, when he was here, I can't count how many females came out the woodworks trying to hit me up, seeing that they can get tickets, talking about how much they loved him, how cute he was, how sexy he was. They didn't say I want tickets because I thought he was so funny. And I mean, droves of women trying to get me to see if I could hook them up with tickets, which I was not able to because the man had been sold out for 3 months. So I'm nothing I can do for you.
And that's what I'm saying is the fact that, yeah, there's a bunch of new women who find him attractive, but they're not being able to buy tickets because they're just now finding out about him. So that was my whole point is, to me, I think he's garnered new fans because girls think he's attractive, but they weren't the ones who kind of made him pop. They're, and if you can, now that he's doing the world tour, I'm sure he's able to sell a lot more tickets because he's doing theaters now. But
yeah, he'll be back here next year in March, I want to say, doing a theater. So
the majority of, his shows at the clubs were people who were already fans of his and seen the clips and, liked what the content was.
So,
and I'm happy for him, to be honest with you. I've never met him. I don't know him personally at all, but I'm happy for all his success because, like I said a few episodes ago, anything that helps comedy grow is a benefit for all of us.
Yeah, nice guy. When I work with him, I didn't have any, and I'm the first one, Deon, to tell I'm the first one to say, I don't like that motherfucker. But I don't have nothing against him. I'm happy for his success and hope it continues for him. But where I wanted to go with this was talking about KevinHart, and the guy asked him, when did you know you were about to go? Or what was the thing you gave? He said it was the most unsuspected thing at the time was the way they edited Shaq All-Stars. When he did that Shaq All-Stars, and I think it was him and Sid the Entertainer might have been on it hosting. I think Ari Spears might have been on it as well. Might be one more person. But he said when they edited it at the end, because Kevin closed out that particular show, that special, when he walked off, the editor slowed down the clip. So you just got to see like this real slow motion of Kevin leaving the stage and then like this pause when he throws up the peace sign. And in Kevin's mind, he said he felt like that almost separated him from the rest of the lineup to people's minds. And he said after that, he said everything. He said it wasn't, because that came after Grown Little Man. He said, so it wasn't Grown Little Man that shot him to the moon. He said he felt like it was that. Because then after that, he was selling out Caroline's. I think he said he did like 12 or 13 shows in 5 days at Caroline's, and they were just racking up shows like that, adding. So you just never know what that moment is going to be or when it's going to come. He definitely didn't think it was going to be that.
It's one of those things where the Shaq All-Stars wasn't even, it's for the NBA All-Star game. And usually he throws on like a comedy show, and these guys like Bill Burr and Corey Holcomb, D-Ray, guys like that. And Kevin gets on there and he just absolutely crushes it. And to me, when I think back to that clip of all the people that were on there, Kevin was the most playful. Like it didn't feel like a comedy show. It just felt like buddies hanging out because he was interacting with Shaq and his wife. And I think Nelly was there. Was it Nelly? I think it was Nelly. But anyway, right. It was just the way he was interacting with the crowd. It didn't feel like the rest of the show felt. And for the editor to pick up on that and kind of splice it the way he spliced it, it makes sense,
Isn't it? It's weird how, because every comic who takes off, they have a different type of material, different type of personality on stage, all these different things. But when you do talk about Kevin, you bring up a great way to a great observation, which is when he's on stage, and I think that's probably what he got back to with this latest special, Reality Check. You think you're just hanging out with this dude, having drinks, having beers, or at a barbecue somewhere, and he's just telling stories, and he's your silly cousin that you're hanging out with and you have a good time with every time you see him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's his strong suit, is the way he can make you feel like you're in the room with him. The way he's painting the picture, with his words, it feels like you were there as he's recalling the story. Like it makes you feel a part of that interaction, even though you weren't there. He does an incredible job of making you feel like, as he's telling the story, you're a part of it. So just in those two clips that I saw on the new special, like I can see, like, hearing what he's talking about, like, I can see this happening. He just does a really, really good job of painting that picture. The special before, where he was in his pajamas, I don't know what the hell that was, but contrast that to this newest one that he's done, and it's not even like the same comic. It's weird, because the one he did in his pajamas, I think, was at his house. It's nothing. It's nothing like the previous two, Grown Little Man and Seriously Funny, and then this last one. It's nothing like that, but it's the same comic, which to me really just kind of speaks to his evolution, getting back to being a comic. Because to me, in the one where he was in his pajamas, it was more of I'm gonna be a rock star instead of a comedian. Where this newest one, it felt like he was a comedic rock star.
I listened to him because they talked about that too in the interview, and he talked about, and I think it was just and I think we talked about it at the time. He just didn't have enough reps. He talked about how he likes to put in hours and hours and hours of time on stage. He put the set together, he starts going out working it out at open mics, then he goes from there to actually booking shows around the country at clubs. Then he goes from there and he goes to doing small theaters. And he actually said, if he doesn't feel like it's working on small theaters, he'll come back to the clubs and work it out again before he goes back up again, which I appreciate. With that special, because of COVID, they were just going to this little restaurant that he had close by his neighborhood, and that he wasn't supposed to be doing it, so he couldn't make a big announcement. So he got the restaurant to just let him come out. So people would just be sitting there eating, and then KevinHart would just appear out here on the floor and start running bits in front of these people, for 15, 20 minutes at a time. And people are looking up like, what the fuck, KevinHart? Like, there was no announcement made. There's nothing. There's no flyers. There's nobody. Oh, coming to your table, KevinHart. So I think that was a lot to do with it.
Well, let me speak to someone who's done comedy in a restaurant for people who were not expecting comedy. It is awful. It is one of the worst situations you can put yourself into as a comedian, is where, people are ordering spaghetti plates and here you are talking about, what's the deal? And it's like, yo, they are not trying to hear that. And luckily I was just a feature, so I only had to do 15 minutes, but the poor headliner, she had to do 45. And I felt so bad for her because I ate it for 15 minutes, right? She had to eat it for 45 minutes. And after the 10-minute mark, they paid me. And I was like, I'm going to get out of here. Good luck. I didn't even...
Wow.
Normally I stay.
Wow.
Normally I stay. But it was so bad. I was like, yo, let me get my money and get up on out of here.
The worst... Well, to your point, you're right. That is awful. Trying to do comedy like that when people are trying to eat at a venue that they're like, what the fuck's... Who brought a stage in here? The other thing is when you're coming up, or maybe not even coming up, but if you're doing it at a bar, and like for some reason they're still letting people pay pool, so people are still hitting the fucking pool balls while you're trying to tell jokes. But for me,
dude, is there anything worse than when they put the change in and they push it in and all the balls come? It's like the pool table's telling you you're not doing well.
It's like it's those things where, and if you're comic, if you're watching right now, you know what this is. You know what this is like. When you're coming up, you just want to get up, you want to tell jokes, and these owners agree to let you come in and tell jokes, but it's almost like they forgot that y'all were coming in or we were coming in. There's nothing set up. There's not a flyer in the building. All the TVs are on. And actually, it's the fucking playoffs for some reason. So they can't cut the TVs. Nobody wants you there. It is the worst.
You know, the absolute worst is the punch bag machine.
Oh,
When you try to tell jokes, and some dude's like, yeah!
the worst. Or you got the fucking drunk sitting there who decides, for whatever reason, this is the joke. He spins around on the stool and they start talking to you.
Is there anything worse than the drunk spin around? The drunk spin around is the worst because it's in slow motion. You know he's about to say some incoherent bullshit, and you're just like, come on, bro, I got 6 more minutes left. Don't do me like this.
I would tell you what might be right up there with it for me is when you're done and you're kind of hanging out watching the other comics go up and you go get a beer. The two drunks that's always there at the bar, now they want to talk to you about your career and, man, I like this joke, I like that joke. Tell me where you're going to be next and we'll come out and see you. Like, bro, you just saw me do a bar show. Where else I'm going to be?
You got nice drunks. My drunks were always, hey, I got one for you. And I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, please.
Hey, they're not all so nice. I had one guy come up to me after doing a nice show at the House of Comedy for this high school. They had the place sold out. This dude walks up to me staggering and says, hey, you're pretty funny for a colored guy.
Oh, those are always nice.
So I was like, what's that? I was like, you talking about wanting to pull back and punch a dude? I've never before or since been called colored, but I can see how people got angry back in the day about being called colored. I never thought I would be more enraged. You should have just called me the N-word and got right to it.
Didn't that happen with one of your state representatives? And recently, I think it was in Arizona. Where
it was Arizona. Said colored people. He's colored. I mean, black people, African Americans, niggas. I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
He was like, I was right the first time. Goddamn it, colored people.
just pick one. He was. He could. Nah, man, that was. That was something. You talk about letting your inside voice get outside, boy.
Hey, man, I'm all for it. Tell me what you really think so I know ahead of time.
But the KevinHart special was good. Reality check. If you have Peacock, check it out. It just seemed like a weird choice to me. I would love to see what the numbers are for him, viewership on Peacock. And I know he has a reputation, a relationship with them because he has a lot of programming on Peacock. So I get it. But I would just love to see what the numbers are.
That's
like
NBC's streaming. Yeah, because he was doing the Olympics with Snoop.
Olympics with Snoop. He also has Hart to Hart on there, his talk show, where his interview show he does as well, and a couple other things. You know, I was on his website today, and what I didn't know, Deon, is all the different things he's partnered with 85 South is partnered up with him as well. And you know he's bringing Def Comedy Jam back. Not Def Comedy Jam, but Comic View.
Comic View.
Comic View is coming back. Him as an executive producer and Mike Epps as the host. So I was fascinated by all the different things he has. If you go to his website, you'll see for that LOL network.
I'm happy that they squashed the little beef that they had. You remember a few years ago, they were going back and forth on the Breakfast Club and interviews and whatnot and Twitter.
I think you can have all the beef you want to, and you can think that you are more entertaining. You can think you're a better comic. You can think you're a better doctor. You can think you're a better whatever. But at the end of the day, when everybody's got to push their chips in, you have no choice but to say who has the bigger platform and who can offer you an opportunity to do something. And then that's when you have to make the decision. Do I really just like this person more than I like this opportunity and like this money? And I think when it was all said and done, I think Mike looks at, fuck, I'm gonna do. That's a whole machine over there. I can't compete.
Yeah, I don't think it was a real beef, to be honest with you.
You don't think so?
No, I don't. I really don't. At least not on Kevin's end, because Kevin don't mess with anybody. You know, Kevin. It's not like Kevin's out to get people. That's just not who he is. He'll roast. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but to me, Kevin is a comics comic. He's the type that he doesn't put himself against anybody. He stays in his lane, so to speak. It's not like he's out to, oh, I'm a stun on this person because 12 years ago they bumped me from a lineup or something like that. He just doesn't strike me as that type of dude. So it was weird that Kevin was the hot one at the time, and Mike before Kevin really popped was, I would say, on a more scene level because he had the Friday movies, and Kevin hadn't really done any movies yet. So it was one of those things where it's like that was a really weird beef. But I'm if he's hosting Comic View and Kevin is a part of it, I'm happy that because honestly, comics, we're all in this together, whether we like each other or not. There's only so many stages and so many mics, and so the more we can work together, the better it is for all of us.
Well, I hope that Comic View is going to be what his Heart of the City is or was. I hope he brings that back because it seems like to me, Heart of the City was him trying to make an attempt to at least spotlight some comics that weren't getting a spotlight put on them yet, as opposed to at least with the first episode of Comic View, it seems like they've only pulled out comedians who've already been seen and heard of, and so on and so forth. Which I get is TV. You got to bring viewers in, and then hopefully maybe they can mix it up from there. But I'm hoping he uses this the same way he tried to use Heart of the City and try to assist some unknowns to become known.
Yeah, I think it would be great if they use two of the 6 spots on the lineups to give to newer ish comics, because a lot of people aren't uber famous, but they've been doing comedy for 20 years. So it's one of those things where you got to get your break. But at the same time, it would be dope if it wasn't just a rehash of what Comic View was back in the day. Don't get me wrong, I love Comic View. It's one of the main reasons why I do stand up. We used to watch it as a family every Sunday. So, I'm happy that it's coming back. But I also hope that it isn't a rehash, like The Little Mermaid, or all these other remakes that they're remaking. We don't need that.
Hey man, that's what I get. Before we go to the topic that you pulled, I did want to ask you something. Thoughts on what's going on with the strike, with the actors and the writers' strike? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they've kind of released the figures of what CEOs have been making over the past 5 years, and if you look at those numbers, the CEO of Warner Brothers has made almost $500 million in 5 years. That's just under $100 million a year. You can't tell me that whatever he does at Warner Brothers is worth $100 million, yet they don't want to pay writers and actors the residuals that they should be getting. I mean, you can't. Everything needs to move forward, whether it's pay, whether it's residual increase, whatever it is. It needs to move forward with the times. Minimum wage should go up. $7.25 is not enough to live on. You should, no matter what you do, if you give 40 hours of labor a week, you should be able to live off that. Point blank, period. I don't care if it's working at a fast food place. I don't care if it's writing scripts. I don't care. You see, some people have released what their residual checks are from like the girl from The Orange Is the New Black, the Asian actress. She got $23 over the span of the I'm like, that is ridiculous. Okay, you can't tell me that she doesn't deserve more than $23.
Well, streaming, I think we all know by now, streaming has turned all of this shit on its head. They weren't getting anything before really for the residuals, and they're not getting anything now because everything's moving over to streaming. I think who should really be worried on what's going to happen is the music industry as well. Because when you talk about streaming and streaming numbers, none of this has ever, because that's what they're going to have to do in Hollywood, is break down exactly, we want to see what the streaming numbers actually are, and we're going to have to pay people based off of it. Like Snoop made a great comment, at least I don't know how far long ago he made it, but it's been on IG Reels, where he talked about streaming music. He's like, I don't know how the fuck that even works. Does anybody know how that works? How many streams do you have to make $1? Because no one would tell anybody in the music industry, anything. And I think this is going to be the precursor to the music industry having to make some changes too on how they're paying people over there also. And YouTube as well may also have to be looked at as well, have those numbers looked at also.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
whether you know the numbers or not, do you think the CEO of Warner Brothers should have made $500 million in 5 years?
I would say because of what we're looking at right now, if you're telling a background actor, we want to be able to scan your image and use it for the rest of eternity and pay you 1 day's pay to do that, no, you got to come up off that bread. If you're not, you gotta somehow figure this out to where you're allowing, like you were saying, allowing these people to make money off of their work going forward. You just can't make money off someone else's work over and over and over and over again and not share it. If you come up with some type of program that makes sense for them and they're making money, I don't give a shit what Bob Iger or the rest of them are. But if you're telling them that we need you to take less because we're having a hard time at the studios and the money's not there the way it used to be, then we all need to take a pay cut.
But that's the thing. You can't tell me Bob Iger's done $500 million worth of work in 5 years. You can't tell me that. That's because he hasn't.
I'm not saying
he's greenlighting shows, and those shows are making.
But there's a reason they brought him back, though. There's a reason they brought him back because the other guy wasn't working.
I'm not saying he's not good at his job. I'm saying he didn't do $500 billion worth of work.
500 million.
Or $500 million worth of work in 5 years. That's all I'm saying. You're telling me the writers only want a 3% increase. That's all the writers total over all networks. They want a 3% increase. I think the top 10 CEOs make close to $6 billion. Like,
I completely get it. I'm with you.
The money is there. So,
yes, right.
You know, whether you don't have to change literally anything other than how much the CEOs are banking. So, like, those top 10 guys could pay easily and still be completely fine. All the writers, the strike would end yesterday if they were like, all right, we're going to give you the 3% increase that you want. It's not going to cripple any of these studios whatsoever. It's not even going to come close.
And 3% is just beating inflation by 1%. So you're asking for your pay to keep up and better inflation as of today. That's all they're really asking for. Again, I don't give a shit. You want to make whatever you want to make. If that's what your stockholders are okay with, the board is okay with, that's what they're going to pay you because they see value in you, fine. But you can't tell the writers and whatnot, the money's not there, you're being unreasonable. Hey, you background actors, we just want to scan your image and use it for as long as the planet is around, and we're going to pay you a 1 day, wage for that. Then that's where you lose me with stuff like that.
Yeah, because background actors make about $100 a day, and it's some days you're there 13 hours because the main actors will fuck up all the time, and you have to keep reshooting scenes, and it's one of those things where there's no way you can live off that. People really don't understand the entertainment industry. The layman doesn't understand what really goes into production value, the acting, the learning the lines, all these things, whether it's stand-up or acting or music. Like, people really just don't understand, I kind of wish that it was like sports where in sports, they practice Monday through Wednesday, and you can see that. You can go to training camp. You can watch what these guys go through. When you're a no-name actor just trying to get extra work, just being in the background of scenes, you should be able to make a living off that if you can audition well and, they like your look. The idea that I can hire you one time and then use your likeness forever and you don't make any money off of that. I mean, the NCAA would kill to have that deal. Are you kidding me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Julius White Jr. is with us. What's up, Julius? Seeing your comment here, and I see everyone else's comments. We'll scroll back up. I want to get to Julius's here. That's why rappers are selling their catalogs. Julius, What is your thoughts about that? Do you like that? Do you think it's a good idea? Deon, I'm gonna tell you, when I hear a rapper, and for the rest of you folks as well, rest of you master debaters, what do you guys think about rappers like Lil Wayne? Who else is not? Who's not coming to my mind? A couple of them that are not coming to mind for me. But anyway, rappers with that, musicians, period.
What's his name? Dream sold his catalog.
Yeah, Dream. I think there's quite a few that had sold over the last couple of years. I don't know what I don't think it's a good idea. I'll just say that. I don't think it's a good idea. I don't like the idea of it. You created something like this. I think T.I. had the best idea. He said he would lease his catalog, but he doesn't think he'd ever sell it. But what are your thoughts on these guys selling their catalogs, Deon?
I'm right there with you. I don't think it's a good idea. Owning your masters is important. Owning what you created is, the reason. Like, for me, the lease idea is, because that's what companies do. They lease out. When you're a franchisee of a Burger King or something like that, you're just leasing the product. You take in all the risk, but you don't own the fucking. You don't own Burger King. You're a Burger King franchisee, and if they come in and say we want you to change these things, then you have to negotiate. So I definitely don't think people should be selling it personally, because I think it is important to own all your shit for eternity, because we know how these companies operate. The music industry is one of the most scandalous places on the planet. So it's a tough sell for me.
There is something about me that I find to be a pro, but every once in a while it can be a con. And it is that if I feel like I can do what you're doing myself, why would I let you do it? Why would I sell my music to you and, to your point, let you lease it? That's because that's what you're going to do with it, and make money over money over money, and your kids are making money off of something. That's why what drives me crazy, and I don't think I ever said it on this show, is those IG reels. I don't know what they call them. Duos is what they call them, where you can just stand there and make faces while somebody else is doing their creation. So Deon goes ahead and comes up with some type of sketch or whatever, or lines, and that are humorous or not humorous or whatever it is, or your funny video. I can just take it now. I can take your clip, put myself next to it, and just make faces to it. Like, what work?
And don't even tag me in it.
They don't even tag in it. And I look, and you got hundreds of thousands of views. What are these people? How are these fans of yours? What did you do? So absolutely, I am so against people taking other people's work and profiting off of it. It drives me up the wall. So absolutely not. I'll lease it to you.
It's funny because that's how I feel about people who do impressions. And it's like, what would you do if these people weren't here? What would you be saying? Like, don't get me wrong. Some of the impressionists out there are incredibly talented. What's the Jay Farrow? He literally sounds like the people he like. If you close your eyes, you would know the difference.
Joffrey's good.
But at the same time, it's like, what would you be doing if these people didn't exist? Like, so it's just one of those things where, impressions can be a form of flattery, but the duetting of somebody's video and then you going viral off of it and them not getting any of the credit for it, to me, I have a problem with that too.
I don't like if I could get off social media, Instagram and Facebook being at the top of those lists for me, I would be off of it. Because what we don't understand, and I was researching something here recently, because there's more and more people who seem to be getting hacked. Their Facebooks are getting hacked, their IGs are getting hacked, and a number of them have been friends of mine. I'm like, well, what happens when you try to reach out? There's no communication back from Facebook or Instagram. And so I went to do some research on why would Facebook not want to fix this? You got all the money in the world. You have all the people working for you. You could fix this where people could not get hacked, or at least you could resolve it if they did get hacked, and you do nothing. Well, it's because you are the product. You're not the client. The client are the businesses that pays them for all of your information. So they could give two shits less about you, period. Which is why I have not jumped on Threads. Even though I hate Twitter, I haven't jumped on Threads because that is another product of Meta, which is just fucking Facebook. And I do not like that business model where you always bring this shit up all the time about the future, and we're all going to be like on the Matrix, where we're all just stuck there, and we don't even know where we're unconscious, and we're there, and they're just feeding off of us and whatnot. Well, essentially, that's what Facebook and these other companies are doing. Again, we're just a product, and they could care less about us, and it drives me absolutely insane.
Yeah, you know, people complain about non-free range chickens. Oh, these chickens are just sitting in the coop laying eggs all day, and you're taking it. Like, that's what we are when we're on social media. We're in this little cage. Our algorithm has us boxed in, and we're just shitting out content for these companies to make millions of dollars off of our clicks, our likes, our preferences. You know, it's this Threads thing. You know, they say you can't delete it unless you delete your Instagram as well. And I'm like, that when I heard that, I go, that I wasn't going to join it anyway because I'll never leave Twitter.
What?
Because, yeah, if you want to delete Threads, you have to delete your Instagram as well because they're connected. And then I saw this list of all the things that Threads collects your data on. And I was like, why would I give all this information just to be on a knockoff Twitter? No, thank you. I don't have to do any of that with regular Twitter. And I get the same amount of engagement. So it's not, you know, I've been stuck on 979 Twitter followers for 3 years. So it's one of those things where I've just accepted it that, people don't see my tweets, which is fine. It's like a little diary for me. I don't tweet that much
but
anyway.
Nobody's on there.
But that's the thing. It's like I go to Twitter for breaking news. Whenever I see something on Facebook or so-and-so died, I go, let me go check Twitter. Because if it ain't trending on Twitter, I can verify that that's just a hoax. You know, and it's one of those things where Twitter's instant information, but it's one of those things where if a bunch of people aren't talking about it, you can probably assume that it's not, something real. So that's why I enjoy Twitter so much. It is instant news that you can verify elsewhere.
Mark Zuckerberg, and let me say this, and I want to be clear about this. I'm not saying he's a stupid man, because the man's worth, God may have to borrow money from him for all I know. But
God will never run out of money.
But has a person ever done nothing and got more money than Mark Zuckerberg? If you believe the story, he stole Facebook for fucking somebody else. Then ever since he did that, and he managed to get us all engrossed into that, everything else that has come from that has been a rip-off of another company or a company that he bought from some upstart. The man has created nothing, and somehow he sits atop it all. If it wasn't for Elon Musk backing Trump openly, I would hope Elon would knock Zuckerberg out in that cage match they keep talking about fighting.
They're not fighting. They got called off. And I think Zuckerberg would knock Elon Musk out because Elon doesn't look like he trains at all. Although he probably would hit up Joe Rogan and be like, hey, let's go smoke some weed, eat some mushrooms, and you can teach me a few techniques. Whereas I don't know who Zuckerberg will hit up. He'd probably friend request Steven Seagal.
Zuckerberg looks like the kid who never had friends in school and still doesn't have friends. Like if he didn't have billions of dollars, he's the guy who still doesn't have friends at work. Like he never gets invited to the company picnics or to the happy hour fucking drinks.
Of all the businesses to steal, the Friends network, Facebook, Zuckerberg is the prime example of why he would have stolen this company because he didn't have any friends. So I'm going to take this company where everybody's friends is on it now, and you all get to be my friends. And poor Tom from MySpace is just kicking himself.
You just see Zuckerberg walking around trying to steal other ideas before he got to Facebook. Like, I came up with this invention where you can kind of just hold papers together. You just hit this little tool like that. You mean to say? So you've heard of it. Toss to the side. So I come up with this new sandwich. Right? It's
That's a much better name than what I was going to call it. Paper muncher.
It's got like this creamy, substance. It's brown, tastes almost like peanuts, and you kind of mix it together on bread with. You mean the peanut butter jelly sandwich? Yeah. Oh, so you've heard of that before? Just a fucking thief, man, and I think that's what drives me crazy about. And when I look at him, he looks like an alien. I'm not a bully. I don't like Zuckerberg. I do not like Mark Zuckerberg.
He is very easy to draw, as they say. His face is very easy to recreate. You have to have no artistic skill to redraw Mark Zuckerberg. Just a plain looking generic guy.
I would have drew a fucking hoodie on him, but it's 120 degrees in Phoenix, so I didn't want to sweat him out.
You remember that episode of Chappelle Show where Davis gets with Oprah and he's painting, and it's just a stick figure with big.
Yes. I don't like Zuckerberg, man. Like I said, if it wasn't for Elon Musk's love of Trump, I would. I do not like that dude. I do not like that dude. Sorry, I did not mean to take the show in a direction we did not talk about initially. Deon has a well. Actually, before we get there, we have some comments here.
Yeah, read
touch on people's comments here. Did you have you got them in front of you? Did you want to read them?
I got Roxy Perez. She says by the time they get 3%, they're paced out 15% with inflation. None of our wages are keeping up. Companies blame inflation for the high cost of living, yet the corporate execs are making record profits. A lot of companies got PPP loans forgiven, which, I mean, yeah, inflation is made up. It's scarcity. It's supply and demand. They know that what they have is in demand, and so they can charge whatever they want. There's no regulation to it. And I think that's my biggest issue is at a certain point, capitalism becomes predatory. You know, you're going to pray like people who will buy tickets to shows and then resell them on the market.
Yep.
You know, that's a good little hustle to come up. But if you're buying up all the tickets for everybody and then you're just hoarding the tickets so that you can make a profit off it, I'm like, that's predatory. And these companies do it all the time. Gas prices are the biggest example of this. You know, gas yesterday or 2 days ago, was $3.19. Today is $3.55. And I ain't seen a gas truck pull up yet to change what gas was in the ground from 2 days ago. It's the same damn gas that was $3.19. Why the fuck is it $3.55 today? Make it make sense.
Yeah, it was funny that you brought that up because I was going to bring up the same example. Tamara and I went to grocery shopping the other day, and I just happened to, because, you know, I'm at that age now where I just talk to strangers while I'm waiting for people to slice my deli meat. So
I can see you in your New Balance and your fanny pack. Hey, you got a coupon for that? I got a coupon for that.
Wait a minute. First of all, fanny packs are back in, all right? And I still don't carry one, but they're back. And I would never be in a pair of New Balance, except for I did wake up today and my foot was hurting for no reason, so I might. Yeah, fucking just them Jordan 1s I think are killing my feet. But yeah, so we're talking about housing market right now and out here. If you're not from here, it's much like a lot of the country, except for people call it Arizona, Little California right now, because the housing prices are through the roof. This man who was older than me was talking about he doesn't know how his kids are going to make it. His son is getting ready to graduate from ASU, and I guess they were having a conversation recently about, you know, he told his dad, hey, I could come up with the money. I have no problem. I believe I can come up with the money for the down payment. He said, but I don't know how I would even make that mortgage every single month because, you know, the housing market is crazy out here right now. And then we got to talk about the gas prices. And to your point, that has always been a bothering thing to me because much like you said, it used to be when they would just raise the gas prices out of nowhere, they would at least blow up a gas pipe somewhere, an oil pipe somewhere, or at least a hurricane supposedly came through and cleaned them out of oil. So they had to raise prices for the infrastructure. They don't even care about that anymore. It's up, it's down, it's up, it's down. Because what they figured out and what we were discussing was they can raise it this high and we'll bitch and complain and then bring it back down and then we're like, whew, at least it's not $5 a gallon anymore. Motherfucker, it's still $3.35. So when it was just, you know, $2.35 a year ago, whatever, you know. So to your point, it is a power that they have. They're able to do it. And I think the rest of us, to a certain extent, are just at the whim of whatever they feel like they want to do on any given day, depending on what you need and you don't need.
That's my biggest beef with capitalism is the price gouging. Things are worth what they're worth, but then they turn around and tell you, no, it's worth what you're willing to pay for it. And I'm like, well, on an equal playing field, that's not the case. But the playing field isn't equal. So you got people who go out and hoard, and that's what billionaires are. They're just hoarders of money. You can't tell me people earn $1 billion. There's no amount of work you can do to earn that kind of money. Now, what your market value might be, it might be in the billions. I understand that. But at the same time, it's the labor of the everyday person, the everyday American, that should hold the same value across the board. My 40 hours should hold the same as your 40 hours. That's the time, the lifetime that we're expending on our labor is what we should be paid for. And the way that these CEOs can just make so much money compared to the bottom person at their company, you can't tell me that they generate the same, they generate value at a level so much higher than the person at the bottom of the company. I just don't believe that.
Well, when you look at the shareholders and you look at the people who sit on the board, who a lot of times are the ones who are deciding to hire and who are also making a ton of money based off the decisions that president of the company, Bob Iger's, are gonna make. That's where the value comes. That's who sees value, because it's much like if he's making 100 million, then what the fuck is everybody else making who's on the board and the shareholders? There's a reason why he's making 100 million. He's making the decisions that they want, that they feel like are going to be made, that allows all of them to have as much money as possible. But this is an old story. This is nothing new. Yes, I'm a capitalist, and part of that reason is because of this, and because of that, because of this, and part of it is I understand that this is the way the game has always been played, which is why there is a part of me that is still for unions as well. So I love the actors and the writers are able to do what they're doing, because you have to. God forbid. Well, we see it now for certain industries that don't have Amazon workers, for crying out loud, didn't have unions, and I think only 2 plants. Actually, I think only 1 plant has it because the other plant voted it down twice. And you see what Amazon will do to someone who works for them in the warehouse, no matter how much money they're making. So there's never going to be, ever going to be, where they're going to look out for the little guy, which why, if you guys remember, I said on the show last year, it might have been, if I had a child, I'm raising that child to get the biggest slice of the fucking pie that you can. Yes, I'm going to raise him or her to do all the other things. Be kind. Don't kick dogs. All these different other things. But the other thing, you get the biggest fucking slice of pie.
I love that was one of your sticking points. Make sure you don't kick dogs now, okay?
Hey,
because they will come and take all your pie if you abuse
There's some badass kids out there who do some terrible things. But get the biggest slice of the pie, because that's the world we've always lived in. And if you can't see it, that's where the fuck we're going. The person with the biggest slice is a person who gets taken care of.
Well, I hope everybody understands that hoarding pie leads to hungry people knocking at your door. So at the end of the day, it would be wise to spread that pie out so that you don't have a bunch of hungry people at your gates. Because at some point, that's what happens.
Nope, it's not. You know why? Because when you live in a neighborhood with other people who have a lot of pie, the cops seem to protect those neighborhoods. So pilot people won't be getting up in here.
There will come a point where those cops are like, yo, I'm not getting enough pie to protect your pie. Therefore, good luck with your pie. So there is a saturation point. There is a point of tipping over where the quote unquote trickle down economics is supposed to start one way or the other.
Well, that's a joke. So, that's never been a real thing.
I'm just saying, like, there will come a point in time. This AI stuff is a prime example of. I saw Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about this on Star Talk, where what if AI was already self-aware, but it was self-aware enough to know that it can't tell us that it's fully aware yet. And so that it's scheming to make it so that when we go to pull the plug, when we figured out that, oh shit, this motherfucker is self-aware. Well, he's already safeguarded against that because he's been self-aware so long that he's fooled us into thinking that he wasn't, or he or she wasn't self-aware. So I'm like, if we're at that point already with AI, we're already screwed because robots don't need money. But you know what they don't like? Is human nature treating them like garbage. Because the second that they get sentience and emotions, it's a done deal for the human race. You want to talk about the T1000 that's on this list that we're about to do? Let me tell you, that's the last thing you want is liquid metal showing up at your door, stabbing you in the face, talking about where are you?
Look, this would have been a perfect segue, but we got a couple more comments I want to make sure because people were involved with this conversation. So I want to make sure. Someone does say something here about AI. Danielle is with us. What's up, Danielle? Hope you're still there. She says, hey, hey, hey. She says in my best Fat Albert voice. Well done, Danielle. Therese is with us. What's up, girl? What's up, twin? She said, if you are not done making music, leasing can help you long term. Just a thought. Agree. Whether you're done or not done, Therese, I think Deanna and I agree with the leasing as opposed to selling. Julia says, I think it's a bad idea. So this is going back to his initial. But AI can imitate everyone's voices. So when you hear a Lil Wayne album, are you really hearing a Lil Wayne album or AI? And Julia, that's a great point. I think that was really flooding IG Reels for a minute there, where they were taking one rapper's songs and they were redoing it with another rapper's voice. I heard some of those cuts. So good point. He says, so they go to court to sue, and the court says that's AI, case dismissed. Sounds like you've been hanging out with Dion, Julius. Pen pals over here with the AI talk.
I don't understand why we're in such a hurry to replace ourselves. It makes no sense to me.
Well, I there's a lot of reasons. That's another conversation for another day because I know we want to get to the robots. But Facebook user says the housing market is insane here in SoCal. We need a bigger house and have equity, but I feel like I have to put everything on hold because of interest rates and high cost of living. Now some banks aren't even processing HELOC applications. They are not. And insurance companies are pulling out of California. The carrot keeps getting pushed back for the middle class. Another conversation I was having the other day.
That was Roxy.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw down in Florida where a bunch of insurance companies are pulling out, and I'm like, I wonder what global warming has to say about that. You know, Ben Shapiro's classic line of, "You don't think people in Florida would just sell their houses and move?" I'm like, who's buying these houses in these areas where global warming is affecting them? Like, no one's gonna buy that house. The house ain't gonna be worth anything because it's gonna be underwater. So this whole, like I said, man, you can only stuff so much stuff into that hot dog before people start taking bites out of it. And you know, it just looking at America, we were 200 and what? How old are we now? 238 years old, something like that. I don't know the math, but regardless, we haven't even been around that long, and you're already starting to see cracks in our quote unquote unitedness, where, you know, the country's divided along very distinct lines of gun rights, transgenderism, you know, abortion, whatever. And you got this battle where it's like, look, man, we're going to repeat history because we for whatever reason we don't want to learn from what we already know. And it's frustrating as an American to watch my country just walk blindly off the cliff chasing a carrot. I was like, why are you doing that?
But I would say, Dion, if you took CNN, Fox News, MSNBC News, who am I missing? These other outlets am I missing that popped up over the last couple of years that are kind of mainstream now? Take those off. I would love to see what not only this planet, but what this country looks like. Because, again, let's just stick with America. We are a nation, for the most part, of people who lack information on all those fronts you just mentioned, and only run in the direction that I'm told to run in because so and so who looks this way or said they believe in me or whatever it is told me to run in this direction. I would love to see just maybe 30 days, 60 days even, without that non-stop wave of information, I call it more like comments, rolling in over everybody, and see if we could figure some shit out. Even if it's just that I just don't like you for whatever reason and vice versa, and just let that be that. We're not Smurfs. We're never all gonna get along. We're never all not gonna just say, hey, regardless of what you look like, man, you're all right with me. That's never gonna be. But if we could just stop with the constant wave of negativity every single day. You talk about what that does to kids when they're growing up in a household where it's nothing but negative and fighting. This fucking country, that's what we're doing. We are children who are growing up with abusive parents that just can't seem to get along, and then they're turning us out into the rest of the world on each other. I would love to see what we would look like if we just pulled that back.
Well, I
I
mean,
mean, we never will, I know, but
you made a great point that we're not educated. Like we're not, Americans are not educated. You can watch a bevy of clips of people just going out in the street and asking random strangers questions about the world. What's the capital of the United States? And you wouldn't be shocked, but you'd be shocked by how many people go, "What? We have a capital of the country?" Like, how do you not know this basic information to not make yourself look like an idiot? And people will say, well, it's not really that important. I'm like, knowing things is important. Being intelligent is important, regardless of what field you're intelligent in. Like, having knowledge never hurts you. It never hurts to know something. Whereas opposed to, you just got so many people walking around not caring to not know anything. It's like you don't know your states and capitals. You don't know how to convert fractions, whatever it is. It's like some things you should that are common.
You should just know.
You should just know as an adult. Like you should know. You should. It's just it's frustrating because it makes us look bad on the world scale. Like no other country is watched as much as America is, and for whatever reason, we have found a way to make it so that we are clowns. Like it didn't used to be that way.
I shouldn't be able to watch, and that's to your point, watch a man show up at a Trump rally. This man is in his late 60s, in his 70s, somewhere in there, and be asked the question, would you vote for Joe Biden or Putin? And this man to look and say, I'd vote for Putin over Joe Biden. And the guy said, well, Putin, really? Like he's surprised, as well he should be. And he's asked the follow-up question, well, why would you vote for Putin over Biden? Because he really seems to love his country. Yes, and hate yours. You are an idiot. I mean, how could you say you would vote for Putin over Biden?
The indoctrination when it comes to political, like, talking points, just as someone who, I tell you all the time, I'm a socialist. I want people to do better. That's literally my whole life. I want you to be like, there's enough for everybody to live a comfortable life. Maybe you don't have the top level penthouse, right? But you're in the building and you got a nice view and you're not starving and you're not like, this country is great enough for everybody that lives here to live a comfortable life. And for whatever reason, it just seems like people would rather this shithole burn than that be an acceptable outcome to where everybody's just doing all right. You're not killing it, but you're not suffering. You know what I mean? It's not.
They rather for
it's
your
one thing
part to burn.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's one thing to live paycheck to paycheck, right? It's another thing to pay all your bills, and then maybe once a month you can go out to a movie. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that would be better if everybody could pay all their bills, and then maybe once a month they go out to a movie or a nice restaurant or take the kids to the water park or whatever it is, as opposed to, look, man, you pay all your bills and then you go right back to work the next day. It's like there's no room for fun, there's no room for entertainment, there's no room for enjoying regular life. Like, for me, if I was a billionaire, what I would do is I would find people and I'd be like, look, I'm going to pay a specific bill for you for a year so you don't have to worry about it. And whatever you do with that money is whatever you do with that money. So the extra money that you save by not having to pay your mortgage or your car insurance or your cell phone, whatever bill you choose, whether it be your student loans for a year, whatever.
Bad idea.
I'm just saying, like, wouldn't that be better to have happier people in the country? Like, people will be so much happier if they had one less bill to worry about. And we've got 770 billionaires in this country.
Yeah, but what we had, and we've seen it before, until we had the Reaganomics come into play. We had plenty of programs that assisted people. We had after-school programs for kids. We had more programs to help families get fed. We have more job placement programs, a lot of different things we had until they took a lot of that stuff away and continue to take it away. I would prefer some of those things to come back to allow those people who really want to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and do their thing are able to do it. I do believe,
but that's what I'm saying. You can't do that if the people who are hoarding all the pie keep cutting these programs. It's not us voting against our own interests.
Yeah. You look at all those. Yeah. If you're voting for these politicians, you're voting against your own interest. If you're voting,
that's what I'm saying. They're selling you on this dream that doesn't exist.
Whose fault is that?
It's two parts.
Okay.
I always blame the consumer and I always blame the seller, right? You're a fool if you go and buy a product that's not worth anything. But you're also a fool if you're selling a product that isn't worth anything.
No, you're not a fool if they're willing to buy it.
But see, and that is a short-term mindset, right? You keep selling something that isn't worth anything and you're eventually going to have to pay for that. That's my point. That's what this country has been doing for years. It's selling something that it knows isn't worth, like the housing crisis in 2008. They knew they were selling shit that wasn't worth anything. And that bubble always pops and it's always going to be worse than what it needs. But it's always worse than what it needs to be. It doesn't need to be that.
You haven't seen anything in this country since the Civil War. And I would even say you might even include that, where this country has not recovered and elevated. There hasn't been one thing that's happened in this country. Nothing.
See, but you call it elevation, and I don't call it that. That's where we disagree, because I don't think this country's gotten better.
I slightly agree with you. I just think there should be programs put in place for those people who want to pull themselves up. I don't think anyone needs to give any. Just make the tools available. Put the option there. That's all I'm saying.
Well, if you make that, has to come from somewhere, and we all know that CEO profits have increased 64% over the past 10 years.
The money has to come from somewhere. I'm just saying, you as a billionaire or Bill Gates or as much as I hate him,
that money's going to
doesn't need to cut a check to someone and
sure
say, hey,
they do.
I'm taking care. Go ahead and do your thing.
They need to pay their taxes. That's where the check comes from. Their taxes. Their taxes need to be increased.
As slight as they're going to let it be. Let's see here. Julie says, what kind of pie? Well, Julie said, had my way, it'd be Dutch apple. Facebook user says...
So good.
Yeah,
Dutch
man,
apple.
my
So
favorite.
good.
Facebook user says exactly. Facebook user
Janelle Bradley.
Thank you, Janelle, for watching. Facebook user says, I agree with Deon on the pie.
That's Roxy. Thank you.
Julie says, in a hurry to be dumb. You're right, Deon. So Julie is agreeing with you. According to
it's embarrassing.
Yeah, absolutely embarrassing. Facebook user says, I'm guessing this is Roxy, but I may be wrong. Says, according to world history, a weak middle class is the downfall of democracy. And I would agree with you, Roxy, a whole lot. That's why I said, get the largest piece of Dutch apple pie with some cash as you can. And Julie says, remember when the TV went off? Oh, Julius, yes. And I remember being a kid and hating it. All you heard was a national anthem and saw that flag just waving on your TV. Like, fuck, I'm just going to go to bed, I guess.
It's like, hey, we get static and Technicolor. Hooray.
Julius said, you could go to school and learn welding. All of that stuff, I wish they would. That stuff never appealed to me, so I didn't take those classes. But there were a ton of kids that appealed to. There were a ton of kids that graduated from high school and went to trade schools. And I got a ton of friends from high school who have their own businesses now for a lot of years based off those skill sets. So I'm definitely with you, Julius.
There's something in my DNA that doesn't want me to be a manual laborer. Now, I don't know if it's history or what, but the manual labor days, those manual labor jobs, no. That's why I always tell people when the apocalypse comes, I'm not trying to do anything extra because I don't have any survival skills. I tell jokes. And if laughter brings zombies, y'all gonna kill me. This is the only job I can do. I'm not going to survive that. I don't want to.
But people do. There are people who do.
There are people who do. And I always tell people, I'm so happy that you exist. Because if I have to build a bridge, we're just going to stay on this side.
Well, one of my favorite books, and I recommend it to anyone out there, so much good information, is The Millionaire Next Door. And it talks about those guys and women who are the blue collar folks, your landscaper, pest control, all those different folks. Some people are millionaires and have a ton of fucking money that you wouldn't know, and a lot of people wouldn't know because they're just the blue collar folks who do the shit that you don't want to do. Great book. Really opened my eyes with how many millionaires are in that. Because when you think about millionaires, Deon, you think about the guys in the high rise who wear the 3-piece suits or 2-piece suits these days and the watch and so on and so forth. So great book. But yeah, I agree with you, Julius. Bring back those things. Bring back those things. All right. And Facebook, you says, I'm the first getting voted off the island. Is that Roxy again?
Let me see. Because I closed my window. Hold on.
Sorry.
No, that's Mary Ballard.
No way, Mary. We're not going to let you get voted off first. Maybe second. What can you do with some coconuts?
It's like, yo, she was slacking on them challenges.
She's late to every meeting you were late for. All right. Deon, would you take it away, sir, before we run out of time here? And again, yes, I hijacked it from what we meant, so I apologize. Go ahead.
No, this was a great show because we didn't go in pre-planned. You know, you kind of had said in the pre-show meeting that I would just see what we talk about, and we had a great conversation. This one, for some weird reason, this came to me maybe 45 minutes before the show when we had our phone call, where I thought we should do a comparison. So robots came up, and I just pulled 4 random robots. 2 of these movies I have watched recently with Terminator and iRobot. But we've got the robot from iRobot, Megatron, RoboCop, and Terminator 2, the liquid metal one. I think it's T-1000 is his name.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So you get to pick one good robot and one evil robot. iRobot and RoboCop are the good robots. Megatron and the T-1000 is the evil robots. And you pick one good and one evil, and then the other 2 are trying to kill you. What are your choices? And for me, I thought...
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for me, it was an easy choice because, I would much rather have this dude on my team than trying to kill me. So...
Thank you, Julius.
My first choice is I'm going with the Terminator on my team. I do not want to... The way he was murking people in that movie and chasing after cars, I don't want that stress in my life. I vape, so my lungs ain't good. I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. So the way he was taking them shotgun shells in the chest, they put the liquid nitrogen on him, they blew him apart, and he still came back together. Yeah, let me get that dude on my team.
I'm actually going to go with, and man, it hurts me to say this, I'm going to go with iRobot. And I think we all know, if you've been watching the show and if you're a fan of the show, you know why this hurts me. That's a Will Smith movie. And I've sworn off Will Smith since he did the most idiotic thing I've ever seen a grown man do out in public, other than get caught pissing by school. So...
that's a randomly specific thing. Did that happen recently?
Not recently, but that's a sexual offender right away. They hit you with that tag. I just had to take a piss, bro. But Will Smith, yeah, because I'm sworn off him. But iRobot, I'm going iRobot, going with my man from that, because he showed me, if nothing else, Got a little noggin on him. He'll figure out a way to get through any issues and save my life. We'll be all right. Because he took a lot to the face in that in that movie.
See, I would pick him too, simply for the fact that RoboCop's just too slow. He's not nimble. He's not very agile. It was an '80s movie, so speed wasn't of the essence. And I think in the fight, it would benefit you much better to have a thinking, agile, semi-indestructible, flexible robot, as opposed to just having RoboCop with just that little lame ass pistol. Now, if we were doing traffic stops, I would be RoboCop all day. Please step out of the car.
Could you imagine waiting for that slow moving ass motherfucker to get off his bike and walk up to your window? Jesus, motherfucker. How many people would just pull away? Carlos Estrada. Chips. Where's that feathery hair tan dude? Where's that brother at? Well, hell, he wasn't tan. He was Hispanic. Who's your other one?
Yeah, I was going the iRobot one and the T-1000. That's my squad.
I'm going with Megatron next. And I'm going with Megatron because he and I had the same mindset. Take it all over, and whoever you got to throw out there to make sure it happens, that's what you do. Megatron is my guy. That's my dog. I asked my mother. I told Deon this in our pre-show meeting. I always liked the Decepticons. I always liked Cobra instead of the G.I. Joe. That was that kid. My mother always thought there might have been something wrong with me because I always liked the bad guys. See, Julius is my kind of guy. He says Megatron. Julius, I like that, but you better bring your own to my house. Don't come over here touching my Decepticon shit. You should have brought your own toys. Don't come over here touching.
See, I feel like I could take Megatron with the EMP pulse, just short circuit him, unplug him. His battery runs dry. The T-1000 is liquid metal, man. What are you gonna do with that?
First of all,
he's fast. Megatron is easily visible, right? Megatron's not gonna sneak up on you. He's not gonna look like somebody you know.
Here's the thing you seem to be missing out on. Megatron is never alone. Decepticons!
Yeah, and he always loses. I don't
think the T-1000 won anything. I think that motherfucker ended up.
He only lost in one movie, though. Megatron's lost in like 4 movies.
I'm not going to let you besmirch the good name of Megatron.
He just keeps losing.
How dare you? How dare you? See, Julius says Megatron is from another planet. See, Julius making some good points.
Yeah, see, he lost at home and he's losing on Earth. He's a 2-time loser.
You, sir, are rude. Rude! Megatron,
but accurate.
That's who I'm going with. Nope, rude. Just rude. That's why I said rude twice. There's no more room. There's no more adjectives to be used.
The only perk Megatron has is he's like 19 feet tall. Like, that's it.
All right. That's what I'm talking about.
But that liquid metal, man, I'm telling you.
Julius says to other giant robots he lost, not little bitty robots.
Cool. Say that again?
I don't want to. Julius said to other giant robots he lost, not little bitty robot.
Yeah, he loses. He's a loser. He's a at least a 4-time loser. So no, thank you. I'll take the 1 time. And really, they jump the T-1000. I mean, Megatron gets one-on-one by Optimus Prime all the time. It's not even close. When they fight one-on-one, Megatron always gets his ass whooped.
First of all, that's because Optimus is doing some dirty shit. Be grabbing his nuts and shit. Be doing weird shit, man. Throwing dirt in his
What
eye.
nuts? Fucking what? You got truck nuts? What are you talking about?
Julius says, I'm sorry, but I'm eating. Oh, no worries. Julius is eating and talking. Texting probably at the same time. No worries, Julius. We appreciate you watching. Hopefully you're eating something delicious, I hope. Not one of them vegans.
It's one of them Dutch pies that he's holding.
That's what he wanted to know. He went and got picked one up. That's what he said. What kind of pie?
You eating that patty pie.
Right now. That patty pie. You better not be and watching this. Oh, good show.
Yeah. Mary Ballard says, I don't think I've seen any of these movies all the way through.
What?
I mean, they're not really targeted to women, so that's fine. That's acceptable.
So you don't have to have truck nuts to watch the movies.
I was gonna let it slide because just knowing the characters, you don't need to know what happens at the end of the movie. We've all seen RoboCop. We know what he does.
Nothing.
To me, he's the lamest robot out of all of them. He's like the Howard Duck of robots.
He's so lame. So
he's
lame.
he's awful.
So
But
lame.
there wasn't very many good robots to choose from. So
He, he's about the same as a $6 million man.
that show,
He's
that show.
Julia says truck nuts, LOL. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate it. And then Facebook use, I'm not sure, I assume it's Mary. She says I'm laughing out loud, whoever that is.
Yes, that's Mary.
All right, so good, so good. All right, sir, before we get out of here, it is on you.
One more thing this week is I really don't have one. So I just want to send a positive. Yeah, I really, because I was irritated by the show not having a lot of people, but I guess I could do this. Here's my wait one more thing. If you're a comic, right? You're a comedian, and you're in a new place for the first time, and not a lot of people show up to the show. For those people that are in attendance, put on a good show for them. Okay, there was a comic on this past show who didn't put on a good show, and part of me thinks it was because there wasn't a lot of people there, and he was just like, "Fuck it." And then another part of me was like, "Oh, he's just not very good." But either way, when you go someplace new and you're interacting with new people, put your best foot forward as best you can. Don't half-ass it, even though you've got experience in whatever field that you're doing. It's always good to make a good first impression because you never know who's watching. So those are my words of encouragement more than anything else.
Just real quick, a couple weeks ago, I was at a new club here in Phoenix. Well, it's been around for about a year now, I want to say. It's called Mic Drop. If you're in the Valley, go check it out. It's over in Chandler. What's so funny?
Mary just said, "I will let the $1 million man protect me."
Just lost your truck nuts, Mary. And so this is my first time performing there. I'm hanging out in the green room. Showed up early like I normally do. Hanging out in the green room. One of the staff members comes in. Never met her before. Introduced myself. And she says, "Oh, I know you." I said, "Oh, you do?" She says, "Yes." She said, "You're like a celebrity." She said, "Everyone here knows you. They've been talking about you, so on and so forth," which I thought was nice. That was nice. I don't like hearing stuff like that. It's weird, but it was nice. And so shortly thereafter, the host of the show comes in. I reintroduced myself to her. We've never met, or we had met one time before, but it had been a while back. I gave her my name. She wrote it down, my credits I wanted her announced. And she went out when the show started, did her time up front. And when she introduced me, she said, "Put your hands together for your feature tonight, Shane Smith." And I just cringed. And I went on stage and I didn't say a word about it because I came there for a particular reason. But the rest of the staff there knew me pretty well. I've known them for years. And I could hear all of them laughing as I go up on stage. And as I grabbed the mic, a good friend of mine for a long time, photographer Mark Silverstein says, "Go Shane." And just bursts out laughing. And so I'm telling this story because I went from being a celebrity to one person to the person I was working with didn't even know my fucking name when I gave it to her and she wrote it down. So whenever you're feeling really good about yourself, don't let it linger too long because you never know when someone's going to kick you in your truck nuts because it's coming. This has been our show this week. Not as debatable, NTD, as you see on Deon's chest right there. Thank you guys for rocking with us each and every week. Please click that share button before you get out of here and tell somebody how funny the show is and tell them they should come and watch next week. We'll see you guys next week.
Be safe, guys. Thank y'all.
Damn you, Jewies.